What's up, YouTube? I'm Chuck the Liberty Geek, and I've got a bunch of people tonight. We're talking about hashtag Gamersgate, or also sometimes known on part of the internet as the Zoe Quinspiracy, but it's more than that. In some places, also known as Five Guys Burgers and Fries. But there's a lot more to it than that. So let me introduce my guests. First, you probably recognize them because A, they're on my show a lot, and B, they're pretty important hosts within the Voluntary Virtues Network. We got Randall Parker Jr., and we got Anna Brandt.
Yo.
What up, guys?
And on top of that, we have somebody. Whoa! His name is Varys. You probably know at least one of his Facebook pages that he's an admin of. He is one of the admins, I believe, if not the head admin of the Libertarian Gaming page, who was gracious enough for me to let me post and advertise on there, my show. So thank you for that. And on top of that, he is also one of the admins for Shit Status Say, which I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people on the Voluntary Virtues Network who have heard of Shit Status Say. So, Varys, thank you so much for being here tonight with us.
No problem.
All right. So, he had his mic muted for a second there, but I think everything's under control. Yep, there we go. So, let's get to it, guys. I sent you guys a video to watch, and I will put this video in the link in the description afterwards because it's such a helpful video. But let's get to it. Let's get to Randall, because you always say things in the most interesting ways. What is to you? What is Gamersgate about? What is Gamersgate about from your perspective?
It really.
I know you watched the video.
Yeah, I did. It really comes down to setting the agenda. It's kind of about being able to control the narrative, I feel, in mainstream culture. I feel like it's a seed that the media is planting to be able to have more leverage politically. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Adam, what do you think? What, in your words, what is Gamersgate to you?
Sex, bullshit, gaming thrown on the side with a hint of government control.
Okay.
And by a hint, I mean a whole bunch.
All right, and Varys, what is it to you exactly?
Too much drama. Too much. Just too much.
That's a great way to put it. Now, notice how none of us said that it is about women being mistreated. Because that's what the gaming media and all those people are basically trying to say, that Gamersgate is about angry white gamer men who are angry about women in gaming culture. And, nope, not a single person said that.
Except for the fact that I would kick my ass in first-person shooters.
Oh, yeah, but you suck at it, so...
Well, yeah, it's true.
But, so basically, this got started when a developer of an extremely mediocre game called Depression Quest was caught sleeping with 5 different journalists from 5 different websites, thus the Five Guys Burger and Fries joke.
Oh, shit.
I didn't make that up, okay? Just for clarification. I didn't make that up. I'm not that clever. But basically, she was caught sleeping with them, and for allegedly better reviews on her game, which is not really a game. It's more of a choose-your-own-adventure novel, like light novel type deal, and basically what it comes down to was, I wasn't going to touch this topic if it had just stayed that, because that's not really a liberty topic, is it? I mean, that by itself, I would say no.
Maybe not.
It's fair game as far as I'm concerned. If it was just sex for reviews, hey, that's mutually beneficial to both sides, so why not?
Right. So, but it got a little bit more than that. There was a little email list found in the similar style that all the regular mainstream journalists collaborate and talk about their stories, so everyone gets their story straight on a Google email list, there was one found for gaming journalism professionals, and these also included reps from every single website that Zoe Quinn had slept with. Well, not the websites themselves, but the employees of the websites. But so that it gets a little bit there. And some of these names include IGN, who is pretty big, Kotaku, who is pretty big, Rock Paper Shotgun, who not as big, and a few other websites who are not big enough to make my no, I'm kidding. But so they're all emailing each other, and basically what they've decided to do is instead of turning this into an issue about journalistic integrity, I think is fair to say, they've turned this around against the audience, and basically have all published. They basically all agreed to and all have published articles stating that gamers are misogynistic, they're angry about women, and basically they're throwing the stereotypes right back at their own audience, which again is their personal view, right? They're allowed to do this technically; they're private entities, but it gets more interesting because now the PR woman works for the same company that represents Anita, who is another feminist against gaming, and I believe the group is called Silver. It's Silver something. It's in the video. Like I promise, I will put a link in the description after this is done. And basically, that group goes to an event every year, which has been linked to a Cultural Marxism think tank, which gets more interesting because that group gets part of their funding from DARPA. And every single American watching this show knows who DARPA is.
Not really, man. I mean, I do kind of. DARPA's the one that they do like the weather, and they screw up the weather and stuff. They do like.
They are basically the people who make military equipment for the military. They're the group that researches that.
They make the not drones, but they make the.
Are you thinking about the weather changer thing that allegedly exists?
That's HARP.
Yeah, HARP.
Yeah, you're thinking about
yeah.
HARP, yeah.
What's the one that drops the big ass things out of space? The big lead tubes on people. You hear about that shit?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But they're the ones
that's orbital drops from Halo.
Yeah.
That shit's great.
But they also were the ones who came up with the the walking dog robot that they had it walk on the treadmill. But they get part of the funding from DARPA. So there's a lot of interesting things abound, and Varese, I'm sorry, I just screwed up your name. You can yell at me. I promise. You can take the rest of the show to yell at me, but Varese, I'm never gonna get it right. I'm sorry. I'm like one of those people where I know your name, but I'll always get it wrong. Like Randall instead of Randall. But Varese, since you're not a normal on the show, let's get your opinion first. What do you think about this exactly? Do you think that there's a conspiracy going on here? And if so, is this a libertarian topic?
Well, I think it absolutely is a libertarian topic because libertarians turn to really focusing on the market to solve things and the market solutions. And in this case, it's an issue of people that participate in just the market in general are doing things that are pretty, I guess, without integrity. And so their competition is going to get a leg up on them through this.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, no, that transmitted, and that's a good point. Voluntarism and libertarianism, they all depend on the free market. So, Adam, you're my kind of go-to business guy when it comes to traditional businesses. What do you think? Is there something that's... What do you think exactly is going to be going on? And do you think that we should be paying attention to this? Not just gamers, but do you think the average, everyday person should be paying attention to this?
Well, I mean, it's business as usual when the state's involved. I mean, if we were in our lib-pair, proper statist-free society, we would see this shit happening. We would see journalistic integrity be not there. We would see a company basically trying to get good reviews by having one of their hottest people go and sleep around with the reviewers. And what's the worst that would happen there? You know, people would either stop funding that company would go under, or people would be all like, hey, good for you, and it actually turns out this game is fantastic. Great, but in a state of society, we see more government oversight. We see the government getting its hands involved in things that it shouldn't be getting involved in. DARPA, Exhibit A, funding a cultural Marxist group who is basically trying to take down the gamer whole world sphere, at least the way I see it, and trying to basically say that gamers are dead and that women need to rule the whole gaming community with women who are just so completely asexual they're not even women anymore, which would then kind of turn them into men, which would kind of go against what they're trying to go for. But then again, what do I know? I just happen to like tits.
Thank you,
it is what it is. But
thank you, Randall, for putting up with us.
The misogyny.
No, it's all good, man. I have no complaints. You're expressing yourself. That's fine.
Misogyny. But okay, so
but as we see, when the state gets involved, it just fucks everything up. And without the state, we wouldn't be running into half problems.
So, okay, Randall, you wouldn't really call yourself like a super duper hyper gamer, right?
I was at one point, man, but not recently.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna ask you from like a semi-outsider's perspective, and I'm gonna give you the same question I got Adam. Is this something that non-gamers should be paying attention to? And on top of that, as a non-gamer, what exactly is your opinion on all of this? Are gamers blowing this out of proportion? Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? Give me
I
your
do
thoughts.
think that from my experience being in the gaming community a little bit in the past, that gamers are kind of very starved for any kind of impetus or stimulus that comes from outside of their own ecosystem. They're very closed off onto themselves, and it's very male dominant. So I think it just makes sense that the media, the media, not writ large every media outlet, but the ones that are looking to take a little bit more influence and try to push their agenda more, for them to look for a soft target. And I think video gamers and video games are that space, because there's a million games being made at all times, and to slip a few in or to get some bloggers, and the fact that this chick had to sleep with the guy in order to get her games to be positively reviewed just shows how sex-starved, the gaming community is. You want to do a favor, if you're outside of the gaming community and you're a libertarian or you're female watching this, hook up with the nerdy kid in class, and you'll actually be making the world a little bit better off, because then they could keep their journalistic integrity a little better. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think there's also more to it than that. Just that, as you pointed out, that gamers in general, and you know what, I'll broaden it out a little bit, nerds in general, tend to be the soft spot which the media can pick on, because they're stereotypically known for not being overly pushing back.
Right.
So now that they're actually pushing back about something, I think it's a good thing that the gamers are pushing back on this. But I guess it comes down to, now that they're pushing back, they're pushing back on like old news, especially. Everyone was mad at her, right? But now they're claiming that gamers won't even pay attention to the journalist that did this in the first place. Feminists are saying that we're only picking on her, which is bullshit. How many people? Okay, all right, all of you. This goes to all of you. How many times have you heard anyone pick on how corrupt IGN is? I hear it every fucking day.
I watch The Creature, so every day.
Yeah. Randall, you've got to have at least heard of IGN.
I've read IGN, but back in the day, IGN was kind of respected, so I'm probably just a little late now. Back in my day, we kind of dug IGN.
IGN is bad, but Kotaku is way worse.
Oh my god, Kotaku is literally political correctness training, but for nerds, basically. And you were telling me, was it you that said you used to work for Gather Your Party?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that, and a little bit about like how you guys would like kind of butt heads with Kotaku in like a competition sense.
Well, just in general, some of our articles on the same subject, we were always fighting for exclusives pretty much on releases that were up and coming with interviews, and we'd get them sometimes over Kotaku, and they they'd be butthurt about that. But I mean, their things would not get as much attention as some of the things we were doing, and it was nice. And actually, in fact, to speak of integrity, one of the reasons I stepped away from Gather Party is because I felt like I was becoming personal friends with a developer too much, to the point where I could have been biased. So I stepped back from it and I resigned.
Look at that! Look at that!
Rather do that than lose integrity.
This guy deserves a medal, doesn't he, Adam? This guy literally deserves a fucking medal for what he did.
Or a hand job, either way.
Well, not from you, I hope.
No, but a medal, yeah, for sure. That just goes to show that people with actual integrity and people who are working in a free market scenario, who are chasing after their own best interests, will do what they have to do to make sure that they're not going to screw over any chances in the future. And that's something that I certainly appreciate very, very much. So, fantastic job with that, Varys. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So, Varys, I got one more question for you, and then I'm going to bounce to Randall. Varys, do you think the gaming community is in danger of, like, how do I put this? Do you think the gaming community is in danger of folding into these social justice warrior demands, like the industry itself as well as the gamers? How close are we to that, if at all?
Well, I think most gamers in general, I forget who actually did this study or how legitimate it was, but I read at one point, so I'm going off on a tangent, which led me to actually make libertarian gaming, that a lot of gamers are libertarian, and I feel like that goes hand in hand with gamers really not giving a shit about being told what to do and following what to do. So I don't think gamers will actually cave into anything by social justice warriors. I think if anything, the harder that people push on them, the harder they'll push back.
What about the developers, though?
Developers, a lot.
Because remember, they're the ones who make their games,
Yeah, I feel like some developers, there'll always be the developers that actually care about their product at the end of the day, and they won't give a damn what anyone says. They'll still put out a good product, but then they're the ones who definitely will try to pander, and the market will determine if they succeed or fail.
I think that's a good way to put it. So, Randall, I guess, do you have any advice for these quote-unquote nerds who are basically being picked on and targeted by this, I don't want to call it a left movement, because it's more than just like a leftist movement. So, do you have any advice for these gamers who are basically being picked on by what seems to be the political correctness police right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always a good idea to understand the issues that you're going to try to weigh in on as best you can. I'm not saying become a master, but, have a little bit, like, if I don't know something, I'm going to tell you, hey, that's not really my strength. So, for one, as a gamer, to not get sucked into, look at the source, look at the header on the top of the blog site you're on, and say, is this where I want to weigh in my 2 cents? Am I going to spend my time educating this community, or do I want to go somewhere where the soil is a little bit more ripe to start planting my seeds? You know what I'm saying? So that's the first thing. And then the other thing is that as a gamer, stick to what you love. Play games for the fun of gaming. Enjoy the community and contribute back to the community by blogging or doing whatever you do, programming, and contribute and support the games and the developers you think aren't getting warped by this kind of whatever bullshit, and just continue on. And I think the shit will wash off eventually, essentially.
So I want to push on. Yeah. That was a good one, and I want to push on one more thing that we haven't talked about yet, and that's the censorship. Adam, I don't know how familiar you are with this, but okay, so 4chan's V has basically been pruning every Gamersgate related thread on 4chan, which is kind of surprising considering what 4chan is supposed to be about. But Reddit also was censoring every single Gamersgate thread on Reddit. And on top of that, Julian Assange, we all know who Julian Assange is. I called him Assange. I'm sorry. Dude, Julian, if you're listening.
You made him Japanese.
Julian Assange was doing an AMA on Reddit, one of the most important people to WikiLeaks ever. And someone asked him about the censorship going on, and he responded about how awful the censorship was. But you want to know something interesting? The person who asked him about the censorship related to this Gamersgate was shadow banned right after Assange answered the question. He was banned from Reddit. Shadow
Well,
banned.
from what I understand, and I don't know, I can't 100% verify this. I've kind of been searching everywhere because that kind of confused me and kind of concerned me a little bit. You know, is Assange kind of going rogue a little bit on us? But from what I understand, that was not his choice to ban him. It was a different admin. It was somebody else within the Reddit sphere of stuff. So it was just weird to me to see that Assange really didn't even speak out about that right away. Maybe he had other things that were going on at the time, but I don't know.
And there was also interesting allegations. Now, I can't confirm this. These are allegations that people who upvoted the guy's question for Assange to see about Gamersgate, those people allegedly were also shadow banned just for thumbing it up. Does that scare you a little bit?
Yeah, just a little bit. And you know, again, this goes back to the politically correct statist bullshit. I kind of want to bring some attention to a guy who he gets low views on his shows and stuff. The Raging Ron Show. I just searched The Raging Ron Show on YouTube. There was a video he uploaded on September 2nd, Gamers Unite Gamersgate, and he made this great point that, you know, if all these social justice warriors are gonna want to make any kind of changes in gaming, well, what are we in gaming for? We're playing games for the experience, for the fun, for the camaraderie, for the story, or for the gameplay, or the graphics, or whatever it is that the gamers are into that particular game for. If these social justice warriors actually create a game that is good, with characters that we can identify with, or hate, or whatever, then that stuff will get played, and these social justice warriors won't have to worry about a damn thing. If they just have their own studio that makes their own bullshit social justice game, if it's good, we'll play it. If not, too bad, so sad, get the hell out of the market.
Perfectly put, man. Perfectly put. Randall, what do you think about Randall? Now, this is probably more familiar territory for you. 4chan is known, you know, for almost being censored about nothing. 4chan is supposed to be the place where you go to talk about what you want to talk about and not have it banned or have it, like, judged in any way other than, you know, by who's talking, but not you being judged, but what you're saying being judged. So, what do you think about the censorship from Reddit and 4chan? I mean, you talk about censorship all the time on your stuff, so what's your take on it? Is it scary?
Censorship is a weird word to me because I think it's kind of used to mean a lot of different things when it really, I think in a libertarian sense, means a very specific thing. So, you know, I don't think it's censorship, for example, if you post something on my Facebook wall and I erase it. It's more like curation. Like I'm curating the content. Like it's like if I had 5 magazines on my coffee table and you came over and left 2, you know, in the mix, and I took them out and put them in the trash, said no, I wanted to have Automotive Weekly, I wanted to have Jugs, whatever I wanted to have on my coffee table. You came in and put down something else. I didn't want that there. That's fine. It comes down to property rights in a libertarian conversation. So Reddit and 4chan, as much as they might have set a precedent for being a certain type of atmosphere, they don't have any obligation onto the audience. The web, although it feels like we all own it together, someone paid for that server, someone paid to develop or took their time to develop that code to make Reddit and 4chan, and they can turn it into a fucking gardening site if they want to.
Okay, you know what? That's a fair point. I honestly believe that is an extremely fair point. So let me ask you it a different way. How do you feel about the fact that they're going out of their way to censor this? Okay, we'll establish that they're in the right to do this because they are their private websites, and it's their private property.
I think it sucks, but that's their call. You know.
Do you think that there's ulterior motives behind it? What do you think is going on? Why do you think it's happening?
I think a lot of gamers, honestly, this might be harsh, but this is definitely a generalization. I think a lot of gamers, because I was a gamer and then I stopped playing games for 8 to 10 years because I said, shit, I want to start a business. I want to do something beyond gaming. I don't have time to put 40 hours into every RPG that comes out. I just don't have time. So I think gamers have, many of them, not all of them, painting with a big broad brush into a gaming audience, but I think maybe haven't fully developed in their awareness of some certain things. Not they've overdeveloped in other areas, art, story play, design, characters, sure. But when it comes down to in strategy, when it comes down to how the real world works in terms of politics and economics, they're easily jaded by these leftist kind of ideas of like equality and egalitarianism. When I think the story writers and the developers of games are, like you said, more libertarian and more kind of pragmatic, at least. Does that make
All right.
sense?
Yeah. So, all right, Big V. I'm gonna call you Big V. I like that. You can slap me later. Um, my last, thank you, Adam, for slapping me for him. Um, let me ask you a question. What do you feel? Do you feel that there's an alternative motive about, as a gamer? Do you feel that there's some sort of motive behind the censorship, and maybe not censorship, curating? We'll call it for Randall's sake. This curating. How do you feel about it? Is there an ulterior motive? What's your take on it?
Well, I feel like, I mean, 4chan and Reddit have definitely had a history of just banning things for literally no reason. So I really wouldn't say to look into it too much as something that's abnormal for them, because they've been known to do it. I remember when 4chan went through the phase of ban anyone who dare mentions anything to do with My Little Pony. And with Reddit, it's whatever subreddit. I mean, you can get banned for literally anything. It's just very volatile communities, and
so you think that there might not be as much to it as some people are putting into it. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I'm saying these communities are pretty trigger happy with, the ban hammer. So I'd say that reading into it too much is I wouldn't.
So okay, I've asked everyone but you, Adam. So, your thoughts?
Well, and I think Verse brings up a great point. All of these different communities, 4chan and Reddit and Tumblr or whatever other ones, they can get pretty ban happy. But like Randall said, a lot of these self-contained little groups, or even just the websites themselves, it's well within their internet property rights to do so. Really, really shitty. And I do think that there is somewhere in there, there's this little, I don't know really how to say it. There's a slight thin veil of statism somewhere in there that these people think, oh, I don't like this, I hate this, I think we should ban this, let's get this away from me. Which, in one aspect is fine, but people are trying to bring the state into too many different things, and I think that's where a lot of us get spooked whenever we see bans or censorships or website curating, as Randall puts it. There's just enough statism out there that those of us who are aware of the system, we also get a little bit freaked out happy, if that we're conspiratorians in a way.
So I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna go one by one for all of you, and I'm gonna ask, what's the most important thing that both gamers and non-gamers alike should come out of this whole debacle? And since Adam just spoke, let's start with Randall. What do you think is the most important thing that both gamers and non-gamers should come out with this whole situation?
So I would kind of go with what what's his name, V said in the beginning of the show, which is to kind of like, I'm not a drama person. I want to get to the meat of the issue and figure out where I stand on something, and I'm all about debate. But if we're having a good old time trying to throw someone in the mud, whether it's gamers, whether it's women, whether it's men, whether it's the gays, whether it's this, that, it doesn't matter. If you're taking a group and you're trying to make them a volleyball for some sort of sport, you're in the wrong, in my opinion. You're just leading a shallow life. Like, if you love games, play games. If you love journalism, be a journalist. But don't throw another group in the mud just to look better, is my point.
Okay. So basically a little advice for both sides. All right. Big V, the non-voluntary virtues network host, but easily someone just as important as all of us here, is more so because statism.
Hugely more so.
Yes.
We're an echo chamber.
The echo chamber. But what is the most important thing that you think we should take out of this as gamers and as well as non-gamers, voluntarists, whatever? What is the most important thing that everyone should take out of this?
Well, I think it's that people need to, I mean, like I said earlier, not read into things so much. I mean, if someone's getting really, really upset about something, just let it go. But mainly, as a whole, to just go with what you like. I mean, if you feel like this is a loss of integrity in general, just go with things that you feel have more integrity, and just stay away from things that you don't like.
All right, Adam, same question to you, so I don't have to repeat it for 5 minutes.
Right. Well, I think Varys has probably the best point of all of us that we'll ever make, and kind of also going back to that Raging Ron show. Do what you love, have fun with the games that you like, don't bother with the games you don't like, and if you're a developer who's a social justice maniac who wants women to have equality in gaming, make a fucking game that's worth a damn to us. Make something fun, make something engaging, have a good time with it. And we will too. If you're not passionate about your story and you're just trying to slam through an asexual creature and say this is a woman heroine, we're not going to get behind that unless you can make them connect. But yeah, basically just do what you love, like Varys said, and just roll with it.
All right, so I'll answer my own question because I'm a narcissist. I think that the biggest, most important thing we should take for everyone is leave each other alone. Really? Think about that.
Think about it.
And that's about all the time we have, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will leave a description for some good reference material if you want to get more into this subject below in the description. Thank you guys for watching so much. Peace, love, nerdy, and anarchy. And any last words from any of you guys?
Anarchy, man. Anarchy. Do it. Do it for
Adam?
your friends. Do it for your loved ones.
I don't know if Varys is going to be not humble enough to do it, but go check out Libertarian Gaming page and the Shit State of State page, because those are two things that I just love following every single day.
Oh my
so
god.
if you don't follow those, there is something fucking wrong with you. Go and check it out.
I love Shit State of State. That shit, I laugh every single day. That
Great
shit
page.
always puts a smile on my face. So, Big V, thank you so much for being on the show, man. Thank you so
Great
much
to be here.
thank you so much for adminning, or if that's not a word, it is now. Thank you so much for adminning those groups, especially Shit State of Say. I love it. I literally am speaking from the bottom of my heart. I laugh at that shit every single day. And do you have any last words for the audience before we go?
Well, we've been working on a website lately, so if you like what we do, check out libertariangaming.org. And that's it.
All right, guys, that's going to be it for all of us. I'm going to hit the stop broadcasting button, and I will see you guys next week.